All right, so this session is on Google A through Z, and Michael already introduced me, so I won't bore you with these details again, and I have already had a chance to meet some of you in some of my sessions, but for those of you who I didn't get to meet, hello. You already heard a little bit about me, but one of the things that I wanted to share and relay with you was that one of my responsibilities is to actually go and purge through the tons and tons of resources that are out there. And as I'm sure throughout today, you probably realize that there's probably more than you thought was really out there. And that's actually one of my jobs, is to purge through resources and tools. And coming to events like this, when they're this well organized and they've pulled in some caliber presenters, I never walk away disappointed. And it actually makes my job easier because I can come in here and sit and just take notes, right? And capture all those good quality resources. And even in events like this where I basically presented the whole time, even with my attendees, they're asking me questions that I hadn't thought of in that way. So it makes me think of these resources in different ways and how I might be able to use them differently. And so I still learn and benefit even from environments like that where I don't necessarily get to sit. And I love, to be able to learn from others, and it's just a great learning team environment, I think. So typically when we come to these types of events, these conferences, and I know just from having seen you guys early this morning coming in, like Jim said, people were lined up this morning before it even opened. We were all excited, probably feeling a little like this. Wouldn't you say? We're all excited, we're ready to learn, right? We're super psyched, and you're probably thinking, oh, I got this, right? I can do it, I got it, right? And then, we start going out to the breakout sessions, right? And all of a sudden, you learn about some tools and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea. I have to share this tool with someone. And you guys are probably like, no way. Can you really do that, right? We're still like super pumped, we're learning. And then after lunch, you're probably like, what? Pivot tables? What are they talking about? I can do what with cells? Right? You're kind of thinking, what's going on here? And right about now, I'm guessing, and of course, they're saying, oh yeah, she's just going to demo slam one after the other. You're probably thinking, is she kidding? Are you serious? Who here feels a little overwhelmed? Yeah, exactly. It's a good overwhelm though, right? It's a good overwhelm. This is the best kind of overwhelm, and it's actually the part that I get the most excited about, because what it says is that all day long you've been learning, you've been engaged, you've been just like trying to absorb it all in all day long. That's why you're overwhelmed, because there's so many awesome resources out there. That's why you're overwhelmed. It's an exciting time to be a part of education. Let's just take a quick stroll back and think about the environment we were in before, not too long ago, where we got excited about this. Do y'all remember that? Yeah, we used to get like totally stoked. Remember being a kid walking into the class and be like, yeah, we're gonna watch a movie today, right? Yeah, I remember my kids when I was teaching feeling like that too, and I was like, hey, I'm a little offended, This is the technology we had that we used to get excited about. We had to check it out, and if it wasn't available, I had to wait, right? And even if I did get to check it out, I had to go to the library and make sure I could find the video I needed, and maybe that wasn't available, right? Today's a completely different world. You can go online, you can go to YouTube and find YouTube channels to play the videos you need. You don't need that TV and VCR anymore, or DVD for that matter, right? You can just go find it online somewhere. There are tools everywhere. Just to look at some statistics here, in 1994, public schools had internet, about 35% of them. By 2002, 99% of them had internet. Okay, so it got us up on the web. Okay, that's awesome. But it wasn't until the, about 2000s and mid-2000s where we finally started seeing content that was of value to us that we could actually use. Like in 2006 when the Khan Academy videos were launched. And suddenly we had all these great resources that we didn't have available to us before. And now, of course, we're getting to the point where we're even seeing it in college. More than 80% of colleges are using these resources, including social media, to be able to share out content and information. And lastly, about 73% of kids today will say, I can't study and do my homework without my tools. I need my technology. And this brought us to this world, which is why you're overwhelmed today. because there's just so many tools out there, so many resources. If you can't, figure out what to do with this one, you're trying to figure out what to do with that one, which is going to be the best fit for you. There's so many resources out there to pick from. I think it's getting a little out of hand though, don't you think? Just a little bit? Yeah. All right. So the idea behind this closing session, yes, is to tip you over, I think, with resources. No, but it's to give you the best of the best that's out there. We have this tradition typically when we do conferences like this where we do what are called demo slams, where every presenter gets to come off and show off like their geekiest tool and what have you. And so they just go, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And so the idea behind this one is to highlight a lot of these very geeky tools, a lot of these types of resources that maybe you missed throughout the day. Okay, so there's a little bit of everything in what I'm going to share here with you today. So if you had to go to one session and you just couldn't pick between the two, but you had to go to one, right? So you missed another, and you maybe missed the resources shared there. I'm hoping to recap some of those items here for you. And of course, all the resources are going to be available to you online, where you can then go back and kind of digest some of this stuff a little bit slower. So that's kind of the idea. So yes, it is going to be a bam, 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 and you're probably looking at me like, is she kidding? Right? I thought I was done. I came here to get a Chromebook, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, good thing is, if there are some colleagues in here that are just like, I can't do this, that does actually free up more seats, right? So better chances. But here's the thing. I want you to sit back, relax, and just watch it all go down. Don't worry about digesting all this, especially if you're just at the top of your limit. Don't worry about it. We've got all the content, everything that's been shared with you throughout the entire day is going to be on the site for the Google Campsite. I did post my link here specifically for these resources that I'm sharing, but they'll also be available off the campsite that you've been given access to here. So rest assured, you're going to have access to everything, so don't worry about having to keep up with all the stuff that we're sharing. All right, so let me go ahead and jump in here. I'm going to start off with some tools for storing and sharing resources because I think that's a good place to start. After a day full of lots of resources and ideas and things that were shared, I think this is a good place to start in trying to figure out how am I going to share this stuff with others. We've been talking all day about sharing your resources and collaborating with others. There are a lot of folks from your district that didn't get to make it today that you probably want to share some of this stuff with, right? How are you going to actually do this? How are you going to share with others? One of the very first tools I want to share with you is called Google Moderator. Anyone here seen or used Google Moderator? Okay, all right. I'm not surprised because it's one of those tools that, for starters, Google first started utilizing this tool as they found a need for it. It was an intern at Google that actually developed this. At Google, they have meetings on Fridays where they get together in these huge auditoriums and everyone just floods into these meetings. And they had a mic where everybody who had a question about anything would get behind this mic and then they'd get in line, right? And so one person would go at a time and so forth. Obviously, some questions are going to take a lot longer than others to address. In some cases, they would elaborate on some. So sometimes some people would stand in these lines and never get to the mic. So people got tired of that after a while. And also people started getting there even earlier, like leaving work early just to get in that line, and they still wouldn't make it. So an intern at Google said, you know what? Why don't we build a tool where we can post our questions, we can vote on our questions, and the questions with the highest votes, we start to address those questions and work our way down. That sounds like a pretty good tool. It makes sense. It sounds like it's going to be a useful resource. So Google came out with Google Moderator. It was in lab stages for the longest time. They finally added this as one of the features that can be enabled and available to you under a Google Apps domain. So as an educator, I'm thinking, how could I use this tool? Yeah, you can post questions, okay. Yes, you can vote on questions, okay. Yeah, I find useful ways to use that because I can maybe in the classroom create a moderator series where my kids can post up their questions that they have about the upcoming maybe final exam that we've got. And so kids can post questions and then vote. That lets me know what things I need to cover first for that review, right? That's a good way to use it. Same thing with teachers. What are your concerns? What are your questions? You can have them vote in a staff meeting. We can start addressing them that way. Pretty parallel to what Google intended this tool to be for. But as I started exploring this tool, I figured out that, there is a different way that we can think about using this particular tool. And I worked with a district, and they had asked me to work with all of their librarians, and they wanted me to teach them about a lot of different resources that perhaps they could use in the library whenever their kids would come and they'd work with their kids or with teachers. And so they specifically asked me for these topics like collaboration tools and information literacy tools, creativity tools, etc. So they asked for these topics. So what I did with this moderator series is basically come in here and I said, okay, there's a ton of tools for all this stuff. So what I did was, instead of asking a question in Google Moderator, as it was intended to be used, I instead posted the link to the tool, a brief description, very, very short, of what that tool is, and I attached a video tutorial about that tool. And so when you think about today's learning and all the resources you've learned about, this came to mind to me. I thought, what a great place to actually throw in all of your resources and all of your tools. One of my main objectives, because I don't work for this district, I go out and I work with districts all over. One of the biggest obstacles there is that I make sure that the people that I work with don't become dependent on me, because I'm not going to be there tomorrow. Yeah, you can give me a call. I'll probably be coming back in 6 months or something like that, but I'm not there every day, so I need to make sure that you don't become dependent on me. So what ended up happening was a feature built within Google Moderator is that you can come in here and post responses. So the librarians came in here, hey, this is an awesome tool. I can see using this for this. And then another librarian came in, hey, yeah, that's a good idea. I thought of using it in this way. What are they doing? They're collaborating in this resource, and they're growing their knowledge of how to use this particular tool. I didn't have to do that. In fact, I wasn't there for any of that discussion. That happened virtually, and that happened between them. I was not a part of that equation, taking myself out from them becoming so dependent on me. This was their space to learn. And they totally owned up to it. They went through and they started posting all kinds of stuff, etc. And that's what we did. Every single tool, link, brief description, video tutorial, and then their reflection on how to use these tools, ideas, you name it. Imagine if we built a Google Moderator series here for everybody that was present at this conference, and everybody starts throwing in the tools and resources that you learned about, and then we start reflecting and sharing ideas of how we can use these tools. Imagine the wealth of information that we would be able to develop. Because it's not just a matter of, give me a site with all the resources. Okay, great, you already have that. The collaborative piece, the sharing of ideas, that's the part that's valuable. And to get you all into one room like this, and every person go one at a time to share an idea, that would take forever. But in a virtual space, that can happen in an instant. And not only that, you go to the resource that you're looking to learn about. You don't have to sit through and learn about every single tool, right? You go to the ones that make sense for you. It's an awesome tool. I highly recommend it. It is applicable to a situation if you're working with teachers, for those of you who work with teachers, if you work with kids in the classroom, talk about flipping your instruction. You no longer have to teach the how-to. I completely removed that from this session. I didn't go in there and teach these teachers how to use these resources. Instead, I asked them to go to those tutorials. I asked them to go into those resources prior to me going, and so that when I got there, we actually talked about classroom implementation, classroom management, activities that you could do. We talked about the good stuff that we tend to miss out on sometimes when we're so caught up in the how-to part. You could do the same thing for your kids, flipping your classroom and using a tool like this. Great tool, highly recommend it. And yes, like all the other Google tools you've probably learned about today, it's absolutely free. Very cool, right? Very cool. All right, this next tool. This is actually just a Chrome app called Publish Your Design. It is a Lego tool, so if you're teaching engineering concepts, mathematics, or sciences, this is actually a really neat little tool because you have to actually build your Lego set here. So it's called Publish Your Design. But I'm using this actually as an example to show off a different tool, okay? The one that's a little more geeky than this one, in the sense that I came to a conference and I found out about this tool, and right now I'm sitting in your session and I pull this up and I'm like, oh man, my colleague Peggy would love this. She is our in-house robotics guru, and she loves all kinds of things, robotics and Legos. And you walk into her office, and it's a small office, but you walk in there and it's like Lego explosion. Seriously, it really is. And so a tool like this one, she would totally love, right? What do you usually do when you want to share a link with someone? We come up here, we highlight, we go to edit, we copy, right? We do all that, and then we go to our email box, we compose a message, we paste the link in, we do all that, right? Okay, let me come back over here. So here is my, my design here, my publisher design. I have a little plugin called Email This Page. It's a Chrome plugin. This little envelope that's up here called Email This Page. If I think this is a great page for Peggy, I'm going to click on this little guy right here. I'm going to say leave this page so it does its thing here. It's going to go into and open up a message for me. It's going to drop in the link for me. All I have to put in is Peggy's email address and hit send. Basically just facilitated the process. It's shortcut. Instead of 5 steps, I can narrow it down to 2 steps. That's all this one is. It's simple, does all the work, all the legwork for you. It's a little hard to see there, but it put in who it's from, obviously me, your subject line, and the link. Now, let me show you something really cool. If I was like on my Twitter site or any other site where you can highlight copy that's on there, like a news article, a current event, maybe it's a publication of some sort, you highlight copy, you click the little envelope there. Once again, it's going to pop up the email message. But this time, because I highlighted copy, yes, it puts in it's from me, it puts in the subject line, it puts in the link, and whatever I highlighted is also included in the body of that message, which is pretty cool, because now I've added even more value to what I'm sending this person. I didn't have to type that in. I didn't have to go copy the text separately and paste it in, right? It just happened, right? It's a pretty cool tool. I kind of like it. It's not too shabby. All right, next one, called Video Notes. I find a video that I think is really great for the classroom, or a video that I want to share out with teachers, and I want them to see, some things about this video. I go and I copy the link to this video. I come back over to this app called Video Notes. I load the video here. It's going to load my video here on the left-hand side. And when I'm ready, I'll start playing the video, and I'm going to mute the volume. And I'm going to play that video, and I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side, and I'm going to start taking notes. All right, so I've started taking notes along with the video. Yes, it's on Chrome size, in case you hadn't noticed there. Everything I post as far as my notes is synced with that portion of the video. So if I posted something 2 minutes into the video, my note goes with 2 minutes into the video. If I post something 5 minutes later, it goes in at that actual moment. So it is synchronizing everything together, okay? So my video along with my notes, all synchronized together. What's really cool about this, in case that wasn't cool enough, guess what? I can share this with other teachers. I can share this with other students. I can share this out so that others can not only just view my video, but actually get the notes that go along with it. Or perhaps I highlight something that just happened in the video to make sure that you got that. Or maybe I'm asking my kids to actually have to watch their videos using this tool and take notes as they're watching their videos. And then they can share it out with me. So it's the opposite. Pretty cool tool, wouldn't you say? Yeah? Nice little tool there. Called Video Notes. You have to find this one in the Chrome Web Store. It's a Chrome app. Yes, ma'am? You cannot collaborate, but I'm thinking they'll get there. I'm thinking they'll get there because, if you're going to be in Chrome in some way, or in Google in some way, you better think about collaboration. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, speaking of YouTube videos, though, let me throw a couple of extras here at you. So I go to youtube.com. What is the biggest concern when you go to YouTube? Inappropriate videos maybe that pop up on the side. I heard advertisements, also an issue. What else is an issue? Comments. Yes, those comments down below. You may have an excellent video, and then the comments down below are like, "Ooh, you're killing me. I really wanted to showcase this video." Take a look at my screen. I went to YouTube. I clicked on a video. What's different? There's nothing else but the video. There is a plugin called YouTube Options. YouTube Options takes out all of the ads. It takes out all of the comments and all of the videos to the side. So all you end up with is that video that you want. YouTube Options. It's a plugin. And you also get this little guy right up here. This is a little light bulb. It's probably hard to tell, but it's a little light bulb. This one is called Turn Off the Lights. Whenever I'm going to watch a video, whether I'm on YouTube or any other resource that has videos, it will pick up and notice that, hey, you're trying to watch a video, and it'll do this automatically. Dims everything around it and focuses in on the video. And it's customizable. You get to go in and determine how thick the transparency, how opaque it is. You get to determine if I want it pitch black, or a little kind of grayed out. You can't quite tell on the projection, but I can tell. I can say, not quite 100% black. I want to go maybe to 50% or something. You can also change the color. I feel like having a blue color today or a red color. You can determine the color around the video as well. Those are pretty neat, aren't they? Pretty cool stuff. Here's the funny thing. I feel like at the end of each of these, I should be saying slam, because that's usually what we do. I'm missing that part of this. All right, next one. So let me come back really quick to my name for just a second. I'm just going to tell you a quick little story. So once again, my name is Monica, and in my culture, I'm a Hispanic Latina, born in Mexico, raised in Texas, and in our culture, it is tradition to name the son by the father's first name, right? Which my parents did, and it's the same for the first daughter, right? To be named after the mother. Well, my mom's name is Leticia, and my grandmother, my dad's mother, wanted to know who Monica was and why I was named after her instead of after my mother, right? You can just imagine some of the rumors she started, and how heated that actually got for some time there. But according to my dad, and my dad, by the way, he's a minister, and he was in theology school shortly before my parents had both my brother and I. And my dad had to read up on a lot of theorists and theologists, etc. And so one of the ones he read up on was St. Augustine. Okay, and so he liked St. Augustine. And just so we can all get acquainted here, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to do a quick little research. I'm in a Google Doc. Popped up my little research tool. Here's the guy right here. This is St. Augustine. Okay, so, all right. Who is St. Augustine's mom? This is where it gets interesting. So let's look that up. Who is St. Augustine's mom? And we find out that she was the mother of St. Augustine, Monica. Okay, so apparently this is where I got my name from. All right, so let's go ahead and grab this here. So we know she was the mother of St. Augustine. Let's not worry about the fonts being messed up. We're going to go ahead and cite that, make sure we got that correct. All right, so let's come back up here, find a picture of her, drop her right up here, make sure we credit that. All right, for those of you who hadn't noticed, and I know this is a little hard to see, I am in a Google Doc. I pulled up the research tool in Google Docs. When I dragged over my picture, it automatically put a little 1, and guess what happened at the bottom? Citation, correct. It added the citations for me. Who can guess the format? MLA. Look at you guys. All right, I'm going to come over here to the research tool, drop down this menu. I get to choose the citation format. If MLA doesn't work for me, I can choose from Chicago style or APA. So I get to choose. On the pictures, it's set to not filtered by license, but guess what? I can certainly filter so that it only gives me pictures and images that I can use, that are free for me to actually use in my document without infringing on copyright issues. How cool is this feature? Aren't you kind of a little upset that this didn't exist when you were in school? Yeah, I am just a little bit, yeah. All right, this super cool tool, right? So you go up to Tools in a Google Doc and you go to Research and it pops up this particular option. All right, so that was my dad's reason for why I got named Monica. And, you know, I believed him. It was all good. But years later, not too long ago, I decided nonetheless to just kind of find out a little bit more about my name in general. Not necessarily try to figure out if he was lying or anything, but just to find out a little bit more about my name. I came up here to this little plugin that I've got right up here. It's like a little red starburst. It's called Wolfram Alpha. How many of you have used Wolfram Alpha? It's a computational database. It's awesome. Doesn't matter what you're looking for, what you teach, you're likely to find data and content in Wolfram Alpha. And in fact, aside from being able to, I can actually type in a math problem and it solves it for me. I can ask it for the C# scale and it actually gives me the C# scale and even plays it for me so I can hear it. I can compare one planet to another. I can compare a river to another river. It's amazing what you can actually look for here. wolframalpha.com, which is not a Google tool, but guess what? There is a plugin for it. Of course there is, right? So there's this little plugin called Wolfram Alpha. I click on this little plugin. We're going to do a search for my name. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to take me to Wolfram Alpha, and it's going to give me all kinds of information on my name. And here it is. Probably more than what you want to know, but this was interesting to me, okay? All right, so here we go. My ranking. This is what was interesting right here. History of U.S. births with people named Monica. Take a look at when it was most popular. Ah, that's kind of when I was born. So it's very likely that my dad maybe came across a teller named Monica, or maybe came across a waitress named Monica, or maybe somebody in his congregation was named Monica, and he didn't really think about it, but it was probably popping up a lot around the time that I was born, and so there you have it, right? That's, you know, it makes more sense now other than, and I'm sure he heard it maybe first there when he was reading about St. Augustine in seminary school, but I have a feeling that there's something a little more to it than just, oh, you know, making it so sensational, right? But I'm not surprised because I have a cousin named Monica, I have a best friend named Monica, and in fact, when I was in high school, there was a Monica Isabel Martinez, which is the same full name as I have. A Monica Isabel Martinez, who was a troublemaker. She was always ending up in detention. And guess who got called into the office because of her? If it wasn't for my social security number, which is what we used to use back then in the United States to be able to identify students, had it not been for that number, I would have been in detention a lot when I was in high school. So I'm definitely grateful for that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and copy this image here. I'm going to come back over onto our little research tool here and drop this little guy in because, you know, if I was sharing this with my dad, you know, to show him, hey, wow, you know, I think it was a little more than St. Augustine. I'd have to show proof. I don't think my grandmother would still accept this as an actual reason, but, and what's funny is that my mom and I, years later after my grandmother had already passed, we found a cassette tape of my grandmother just going at it like, who was this girl? And you know, seriously, I mean, she couldn't believe it because it was culture. It was what you were supposed to do was name it, you know, after a certain person. Anyway, all right, so let me wrap up this section here. I want to show you just a couple more things here. Tells you all kinds of stuff about people, about my name. And this I'm not excited about. The most notable people, not happy about this. As you would imagine, not happy at all. But this is where it kind of comes full circle for me, where it just was kind of like, oh, okay, Dad, I'll give you this one. And here it is. Well, first of all, we've got the word etymology down here. Who knows what that means? You're close. Origin of words, she got it. All right, so what I typed in to be able to get this directly without having to worry about looking it up was simply typing in the search operator, define, colon, and then the word and the end result is the definition. So define colon always gives you the definition of whatever it is that you're looking for, okay? So yes, it is the study of the origin of words. So let's come back then really quick to Wolfram Alpha to close this little guy up and take a look at this. And not sure if it's going to be as easy to read from the back there, but it says from there, meaning unknown, most likely of North African or Phoenician origin in the 4th century. This name was borne by the North African Saint Monica of Hippo, the mother of Saint Augustine. So I have to give it to my dad, right? I mean, I don't have a choice here. It did come from there, so he was happy to hear that because I did kind of challenge him on it. All right, so research features, awesome. If you didn't attend some sessions today on search, definitely go online and look for those resources that were shared. There's a ton more things that you'll find on there on research features that are just amazing. And I'm going to share this one that I think is really cool. If you've ever had anybody ask you a question that you thought to yourself, you could have Googled that yourself, right? You're thinking that, you need to use this tool called Let Me Google That For You. So if you were to ask me, who is Saint Augustine, you click on Google search here. Notice it didn't conduct a Google search. Instead, it gave you a link. I'm going to copy this link because that is one of my options from down here at the bottom. It says copy. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on copy. And if you asked me this question, I'd probably, send you an email and just send you this link. So let's pretend this is you now, or this person, and we're going to click on that link, and this is what's going to happen. It says, was that so hard at the bottom? I don't know if you saw that, but it actually said that. It actually says, was that so hard? Yeah. Again, it's called Let Me Google That For You. And it's all you need is the abbreviated letters there, lmgtfy.com. Let me Google that for you. So if nothing else, you have to go back to your peers that didn't come and play a prank on them. If nothing else, you absolutely must do this. Okay. Now, aside from this being a ha-ha laughing moment, I actually use this tool to create my video tutorials for teaching information literacy, for highlighting and the use of search operators. So instead of, writing that, of course, I'll teach the search operators like file type. If you came to me and said, I need a PowerPoint, in my search, I would type in file type : PPT. And then if you were asking me for information about St. Augustine, I would put in the name St. Augustine. And when I actually conduct this search, which let's go ahead and do this in Google really quick, every single search result is going to be a PowerPoint on St. Augustine. So again, the search operator you want to learn is file type : If you want a PowerPoint, PPT. If you want a PDF, file type : PDF. If you want a JPEG, file type : JPG. What kind of file are you looking for? You type it in at the end of that. So that's the search operator. So coming back to Let Me Google That For You, because when I click on Google search and it creates this link and I shorten it and copy that, I then create either a website or a handout that I then give to either my teachers or the kids that are then going to go use that and actually watch them. Because what tends to happen with these search operators, especially when you're not familiar with them, is going to be like, wait a second, was there a space between the E and the colon, or does the space come after? Is there any space at all? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? If you watch the little video tutorial that this just created for you, there's no question. You get to see the whole thing in action. And you can do it on your own. I don't have to be there for you to do it. So that's how I use this, aside from the occasional ha-ha moment that I play on some folks. Okay. All right. So just to wrap up information literacy, like I said, there's a ton of stuff out there for search, but I did want to point out that Google did create Google Digital Literacy and Citizenship Curriculum. It is a 3-part course that you can either tell your kids, you're going to go on and do this online on your own, or you can actually break up this content into pieces and work with your kids individually, a little at a time. It covers everything from being able to learn how to be a good searcher and learn about these search operators, to knowing how to recognize your digital footprints, what you're leaving behind basically, so your digital footprint's impact, okay? And also, and I mentioned this earlier to the previous group that I was working with in a session, how many of you have forwarded an email that said if you forwarded it to 10 people, you would get your wish? That happen? Okay, so this class helps you identify scams like that so that you don't fall for it. So 3 different classes targeting 3 different areas. The entire curriculum is there for you. It includes lessons, activities, things you can print out, videos, images, you name it. It is a full class that you can either dissect or just put your kids in there all at once. Pretty cool stuff. It is on the link. It will be on the link. It's on there so you can get to it. Yeah. The name of it, absolutely. It is called Google Digital Literacy and Citizenship Curriculum. It's a pretty long one. Google Digital Literacy and Citizenship Curriculum. All right. Next one. For those of you who are using Gmail, got a couple of neat little tools here for you, starting with Boomerang. Boomerang allows me to compose a message. And let's just send this to myself. I'm going to call this demo. Down here at the very bottom. Y'all see that button? Send later. I've got to draft up an email. It needs to go out at 10 o'clock, but I'm going to be busy at 10. I'm in the middle of class, or I'm in a meeting. I'm busy. I don't have time at 10 o'clock to send out this message, and it can't go out before 10. Why? I don't want my kids accessing this content before class time, or perhaps I don't want it to go out before because this is the time when it should best hit their email box, because you know there's good times and bad times to send email. So I need to schedule this, meaning I can draft this up at any point and then just schedule it to be delivered at a later time. So I'm going to click on the button, send later. These are my options, 1, 2, 4 hours, tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, or I'm not going to bother with that. Instead, at a specific time that I get to determine the date and time for when this email needs to go out. I get to decide. And at that time, I don't have to worry about it. It's going to do the magic all on its own. Okay? So that is, let's see here, I'm going to come back here. So that is Boomerang. We also have Banana Tag. Anybody here used or heard of Banana Tag? Ever wondered whether or not your students actually opened up your emails that you sent them, or whether or not a parent opened the emails that you sent them, or whether or not a teacher opened the email that you sent them? Husband, oh my goodness, I'm not going to go there. She did, it wasn't me. All right, down here at the bottom, you've got some tracking options. Once you install Banana Tag, you can basically select that option. When that person opens up that email, you get an email saying your email has been opened. Okay? Now, the basic features that come for free give you this information. It also lets you know if you had links within that email, if they've clicked on them. And if you want to invest a little bit of money, it'll tell you all kinds of stuff. But like I said, we're not going to go there. But yes, you could sort of become a stalker to some degree. So be careful when you open up people's emails. Don't, think that, oh, I never got that. You know if they got your email for sure. It does not let them know that you know, by the way. FYI, it does not let them know. All right, last one on email here. It's called Rapportive. Rapportive. How many of you are the type that, like when you meet people, you're better with faces, but you always forget a name? Does that ever happen to anybody? I'm notorious for that. I will remember faces, and it might take me a while to place you, but I will remember you, your face, may not remember a name. So a tool like Rapportive is pretty sweet for me. Whenever someone sends me an email, or if I'm going to send somebody an email, I type in their email address. All right, so I type it in. Take a look at this field here on the right-hand side. See all this information here? Obviously, I put in my own email, but see this information here? All of this information pops up for this person named Monica, who apparently lives in Austin, Texas, who apparently is a director of professional development at TCEA and has a Twitter account, and her handle is at MIMG1225. I didn't have to go look for this information. It just came to me. It came to me. Let's put in someone else here. All right, so I'm putting somebody else's name in here, and it's resifting the data, and here we go. Just happens to be my boss. And here we go. All her information just popped up. All right, so before I freak you out, because I know this one seems a little scary, Rapportive will only go out and search for data that you have made available to the public already. I'm not going and finding information about you that you didn't already put out there that's public. The tool, what it's doing for me is as if I had gone to google.com and searched for your name and tried to collect information about you to figure out who you are. The tool did it for me. So for example, if you have a Google Plus account and you have a photo and it's associated with this email, then it's going to pull that photo in here for me. And if in that profile you've listed where you work, well then it's going to pull that information for me here. If your Twitter account is open and public, it'll pull that information for me here. Only what you've made public. Here's the interesting thing about this tool, and this happened not too long ago. It was like just maybe a month or so ago. Somebody sent me an email. And I'm getting ready to put on Google Academy in Texas. And somebody had sent me an email that was applying to be a presenter. And this is a closed call, so we're handpicking, some of the presenters that are coming. And I was like, who is this person that, actually was able to apply when I didn't share this link with this person? I don't know who this David character is. So I took the email address that they used to submit their proposal. I came over here to Rapportive and simply just drafted up an email. I put in his email address so his picture pops up and his information about where he works and what have you. And I thought, well, I don't know this guy. Who is this person, right? It's a mystery at this point. Well, he happens to call me to find out if he's been accepted or not. And I'm like, yeah, let's talk about that, right? And so I tell him, so it looks like you're a vendor from so-and-so company. He's like, whoa. He's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, well, and I explained to him, he's like, oh my God. He's like, I worked there like 5 years ago. And I'm like, you might want to change your profiles because it's outdated and it shows that you work for this particular company. So it's actually a good way to actually just put in your own email and figure out what is there out there about me that I might have to go in and fix. So anyway, that was just a little side story there about that tool. But anyway, this one is called Rapportive. So while I've shared my email with you, you might want to be careful about, sending me an email now. Might find out all kinds of stuff about you. No, that's not true. If you have no information out there that you've made public that's associated with that email address where you're sending me an email from, it comes out empty. Nothing pulls up. And I've got plenty of people who email me where it's empty, completely empty. So it's only if you have decided to make content online that you've posted free for others to be able to view or out to the public, basically. Okay, so no need to worry about this one. It's nothing against the law or anything like that. But it's a neat little tool. Neat little tool. All right, throughout today, quite a few of you were asking me about being able to access menus of your Google products. This is a really cool plugin called Black Menu for Google. When you're on any page anywhere, that's not where you're logged in, like here, you see my Gmail. But if I were to go to some other page like this one here, I'm completely, somewhere else, not on a Google feature, I may want to actually access my Google tools. Well, if I need to, I would have to go open up Gmail or Drive or something, log in, and actually get to the rest of my features. With this little guy right here, let me zoom in. It looks like this. It's called Black Menu, even though it's blue, which makes no sense. But it's called Black Menu because it's referencing that black bar where we used to seeing all of our Google tools. You click on this little guy from any page, doesn't matter where you are. You click on it. It's going to pull up all of my Google tools in a little menu down there on the right-hand side. I can now go between them, even search. Search pulls up here. My Google Plus pulls up here. What's really cool about this is if I go down to my Gmail, for example, I get to actually see my Gmail information. If I go over to my calendar, I get to see my calendar information on here. It's just a really nice, easy way to get to your Google content. Not just the tool, not just a link to Google Calendar or Mail, but I actually get to see stuff. I can answer a question right now about my, my schedule for next week, or I can, add something directly from here because I have the plus sign to actually add an event directly from here without going to Google Calendar. So a pretty neat little little plug-in there called Black Menu for Google. Panic button. Okay, so if, you know what, I have to come back to that one because, no, let's just do it now. All right. How much time do I have? All right. You'll be safe in like 2 minutes, don't worry. I will stop in 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm just going and opening up a whole bunch of tabs. And let's say, you know, I've pulled up Facebook, I've pulled up, you know, all kinds of stuff. I'm at work. My boss is about to walk behind me and I'm like, oh no. I hit this little button called panic button. And it'll close out all of my tabs. I went from having 10 tabs to, oh, it's just a blank tab. There's nothing there. My boss walks behind me. He leaves. Okay, I'm safe. Let's pull him back up. It's called panic button. Panic button. So I tell you this for 2 reasons. One, in case your boss ever walks behind you when you're looking at something you shouldn't be looking at. And 2, really more importantly, for when your students discover this tool, you know what to look for. If you walk behind them and a page is blank, that already right there should tell you something's up. If you see a green exclamation point with a little number next to it, that little number indicates the number of tabs that he has just closed using the panic button. And you can tell him, excuse me, can you click on that little green button for me? It'll pop up all the tabs right back up so you can see what they just try to close and sneak by when you're walking behind them. Yeah, definitely check that one out. Speaking of tabs, how many of you open up way too many? That is me. To the point where sometimes I cannot see what I have open. I can't even tell because the tabs are scrunched in so much that I can't tell. If that is you, you need this plugin called Tab Jump. Tab Jump is going to pull up this menu so that I can actually see what I have open and simply click on that item and it jumps right to it. Doesn't reorganize my tabs or move anything, it just jumps to it. Makes it easy for me to get there, basically. Okay? All right, I've already got Jim walking up to the front, so I think it's time for me to start wrapping up here. So let me just start wrapping up. I know it's a lot. I didn't cover everything that's on my list, as you can imagine. There's a ton out there. But I want to leave you with this. There's a lot of information, a lot of resources. I don't even think I have to say that to you guys because you experienced it today. Majority of the content that's out there, it's produced by folks like us that produce a lot of this content. So it's important to learn how to sift through all this data to be able to figure out what tools are of value to us. Because it doesn't matter how many tools there are that are out there. It doesn't matter how many tools you have picked up on. It's not a matter of how many tools did I learn about today. It's a matter of figuring out which ones are of value to me and how am I going to use these tools. That's the important part here, is how am I actually going to use them. So the important thing is not how many tools you have in your toolkit, but how you actually use them. This goes back to what Michael was saying earlier this morning about, there's all these different things, et cetera, and you're going to find even more things after day, and you're going to continue to learn. But we can easily toss these things, oh, next one, give me the next one, et cetera. This reminds me of my niece when she opens up her presents. It's a matter of figuring out what's going to make a difference and what's going to be of value to you. So I hope that you learned a lot today. I hope that you picked up a lot of things, and I hope that you'll be able to go back and share with your colleagues and start thinking about the resources that are going to be of value to you and what you can actually use in your classroom when you're using those. I wanted to pull this up at the end here just to make sure that you're aware of this community. One of the places where you're going to be able to do exactly just that. I congratulate you on dedicating a Saturday to this particular event, and I thank you. You guys have been an awesome host, and we've had an amazing time here. Thank you so much.